Welcome, everyone. I'm very happy to introduce Chad Walkaden. He's the founder of the Cancer Blueprint, and he's joining us here today. And so he's going to share with us about the Cancer Blueprint and what he's been doing. Amazing work all around the world with cancer patients and their families and their carers. At the same time, he's going to take us through what it was like for him to overcome cancer. And not just once, 3 times. So this is something that, so thank you, Chad.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I know that yesterday we had some difficulty. So anyone out there who was watching yesterday, our apologies. Rana was amazing in supporting me with this. And I think we worked really well as a team. So big up for her. Big up.
Thank you for your patience. And everyone was so supportive. So unfortunately I had a storm. So today I'm in the office, so just to make sure that we have super fast Wi-Fi for this. And we're not doing it live, just so we can record it in case anything goes wrong.
Yes.
So, yeah. All right. So, Chad, awesome. I'm gonna go through some questions. Now, this interview is a little bit, I know that you talk a lot about the resilience and how you overcame it, and we're gonna talk about that. But at the same time, I want to talk about like some of the darkness of hearing about cancer and some of like the things that maybe a lot of people don't post on social media, like, because many times I see, I'm fighting cancer and I'm, all this positive stuff, which is great. But at the same time, I'm sure there's the dark side of cancer. So what I'm going to go through, just if you can take us back to the time, day, hour, where you heard the sentence, it's cancer. And what was the first thought or thought?
She could see things.
Yeah. So it wasn't what was said, it was how it was said. So I'd been in the hospital in East London for 4 days. This was in January of 2014. There were no side effects, like there was nothing to indicate what was coming. Also being a 29-year-old, like there's just, in that scheme of life and in the scheme of what my existence was, there's no preparation for what was going to come. And the immediate moment was when I saw the look on her face. There was an uncertainty about how to deliver this message. And that message was shown in her eyes, her facial expression, and by the team that she had around her. And it was then that it was just, you've got a tumor. She said it while she gulped. And I remember that moment, my eyes just watered up. And it's that first time in my life of like considerable pain and just an immediate moment when it does change. Life does change. Now, how significant is that shift at the moment? I can't say, because it's all in this, you're in it.
Yeah.
So all you feel is just like this overwhelming and outpouring of emotion. And I guess I didn't at the time, I'm not sure about anyone else, but I didn't really understand kind of what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But I talk about significant moments, and that was definitely one shift. Like I know that then, I tried to stay in, like trying to think that I can't let people see me cry. And then silly, I went to the toilet and I bawled my eyes out. And I didn't stop. It was very easy for me to cry for the next week and just keep on crying. And in some ways it was reassuring, which sounds weird because I wasn't someone who had cried before. So to be able to allow these tears and this pain in life, something that I started accepting and exploring. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I just wanted to know, was it something that you expect? Because, a hypochondriac would probably think, I'm sure I have cancer, and they wouldn't sleep all night if they get a blood test, even if it's like over a small cough. Was this something that you were expecting, or was it a shock for you?
Yeah, nothing in my world indicated that this was going to be coming. Maybe this wanted then that maybe it was chronic fatigue, maybe it was glandular fever. But that was like the extent of this, because I think all I had was some symptoms of fatigue when I did exercise. So when I did exercise the next day, sometimes I was a little bit tired. But that was, you're never going to think, I've got a stage 4 cancer. Like that just, in my world, that before cancer, that isn't there. After cancer, everything can be cancer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so
that's the shift.
What were some of the symptoms? Just for anyone that's watching the, sorry?
Beforehand, fatigue, extreme fatigue, my stomach, and there was some pain one day in my stomach region. I did go to the doctor that day, and they just said I had a build up. I had a build up of acidity.
Okay.
You know, I don't lay blame with them. It's a 1 in a million. You know, the cancer affects 1 in a million people, so I can't. It's just they just weren't to know that. But that's all I had.
Okay, so you'd never expect
and
it.
Pain in my stomach.
Yeah, I mean, I get fatigue sometimes.
No way. Yeah, never.
So,
never expecting it.
Lucky
never.
that you went to the doctors, because many people get fatigue and they're like, oh, I'm low in iron. So yeah, that was lucky for you. So who was the first person that you told? Was it a friend, or was it a family member, or did you keep it inside?
So I hadn't told anyone I was in hospital for 3 days because I was overseas. I didn't want my family to worry. I was in the hospital taking selfies of my arm, kind of just joking around, thinking, oh, I'm in hospital, and sending it to some mates. But never was I to know. And I was telling my housemates that my workmates were with me. I was telling my workmates and my housemates were with me. And then when I got told that this is, you know, there's a tumor, that's when I called my brother and my best mate. And yeah, that was really emotional. Still wasn't sure whether to tell my parents at that stage, because I just I was aware of the impact it was going to have on them. So I didn't tell them at that stage either. And that's something that I've, you know, done throughout the journey of mine, is be mindful about what information I share. And that's completely a personal decision.
Yeah.
But I like to, you know, I think it's the number one thing at times is how this wants to mess with me. So I try to do everything to control my environment as much as I can. So
at what point did you start to feel that you need to think that in a positive way? So how long did it take you to come out of that darkness of fear and shock?
I think it's something that I think from the get-go, like I think from the very beginning, there was complete optimism and belief that this wasn't going to be me. This wasn't, I didn't buy into a 2-year life expectancy. I didn't buy into my death. I was always like, I'm going to get better than ever before. So that was one of these key beliefs that I created very early on. And that's in the first week. And the belief that getting better, and the belief in better was physical, career, emotional in my life to get beyond the point where I was. Like, this wasn't the end. This was going to be something that enabled me to then push through past levels of health and wellness and education, etc. So yeah, I kind of saw that as a challenge.
So was positivity and mindset something that you knew about or you were taught before your diagnosis, or was this something that was just instinct that you thought, I need to think positive? Because I've heard, I don't know, 10 years ago that there were people with cancer that thought positive and they overcame it, and there were things that I learned. But if I've never heard that and I got cancer, I would probably not even know that, and I'll just think that I need to it's
a very good point. It's a very good point. And what I think occurs is that everything that's led you up to that point then gets relied on. So I don't know how much we're in control at those initial moments. And what I think is very important is how I was raised, and some of the lessons that were coming through my parents and my childhood. And one of the things that I've spoken about in the past is this idea. Mum used to say a number of things to us when we were young. And she was talking about, you need to be resilient. You need to be resilient when we were young. I didn't know what resilience was when I was young. Like, I don't know how many people were even talking about resilience back then, but that was something that continuously came through. Now, how much that factored into this way that I need to see it. And I think I didn't read, I didn't know anything. There was just like, okay, this is how I am. I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get better than before. And the key belief was, something that was quite compelling at that time. And I didn't, I've got the knowledge now to kind of provide details to construct what a belief or a script could be. But back then it was just like, I'm not going to be that poor C with cancer. So that was this belief. So if that was what I was going to say to the world, and that was what I was going to say to myself, that was this construct that I was creating for how I was going to think and how I was going to behave. But that said, despite there being this mindset of I'm going to get through it and I'm going to be okay and I'm going to get better than before, this still is it's going to mess with you. So for years, there was this shift between how much fear and how much loss there can be, and like grappling with your existence. And I guess that's kind of enabled me many years later to be able to come out of it with a fairly good understanding about who I am and what I'm here to do and why I'm on this course that I am at the moment. I'm sure we'll probably get to that later, but yeah, I think it's very much about how I was raised and my influences that enabled me to make those decisions early on.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, it's everything that your parents or your environment or something that you've read, but yeah, lucky for your mom. So I wanted to ask, so it was stage 4 and the doctor said, was there a cure? Was there a chance? What was the chance that they gave you?
Yeah, there was, I guess the other strong point as well were my mates.
Yeah.
My mates were very, very grounded and in terms of then separate, different friends who play different roles. Some of the friends were like very much about, let's just have a laugh, but everyone was supportive, but then there's other ones who go in to investigate a little bit more, etc. So the prognosis was never great. And if it came back, you're going to die, you're never going to have kids, all that sort of thing. And I needed to make a decision about how much information was actually going to be useful. I saw, early on, I remember statistics about how many people would survive, whether it was 10% or whatever it was. In my mind, I was like, okay, I'm going to be that 1%, or I'm going to be that 2%, or whatever it was.
That's what you made that decision, regardless of the prognosis of what the doctor said. You just made that decision. I'm going to get through this. And
well, there's a belief. There's a belief that I'm going to be that person.
Yeah.
And a belief, I think, doesn't mean there can be, doesn't mean there can't be some doubt with that. Yeah. And that's where it just needs to be reinforced. And the strongest moments to reinforce that belief is when times are tough, when you're not feeling good, when you've been nauseous 30 days in a row, when you're feeling lonely, when you've lost your job, when you're on the pension, when you're at home crying for no reason, when you're feeling cold, when life is just like, what is going on here? And there is this belief that rather than buying into and rather than then going, and entertaining this, am I going to die?
Yeah.
What are they going to look like at my funeral? And like fantasizing about my death. I did that.
That crossed that you were doing that as well, because that was my next question. Like, was there moments where you were thinking about your funeral or thinking about the things that you never got to do?
Oh, there's like, I believe we get caught in a fantasy of our death at times like that. And what I talk about, and for me, it always came from this side of my brain. I was able to identify that later on. Some research suggests it's the other side of the brain, but for me, some reason it was very, very, very much coming from here. Yeah. And what I think happens is we kind of get this fear or a thought, and then it kind of pops up, and then we provide an option for that. So it's not only something which is never going to be helpful, but it's, if I die, who's going to be at my funeral, and what's going to be the look on my mum's face? Now, you can imagine from that and just pausing to think if that was your own circumstances. Yeah. That's never going to take you to a good place. But we don't stop there. We kind of buy into it. What sort of music would I then play at my funeral? Yeah. And who would kind of be there? And what sort of tears would they have? And what would they remember from me? And it's just like, until you get to that awareness that this is not taking me anywhere, this is only making me upset. And what this is actually doing is just top. This is top level. And the top level concerns and fears that are very normal. Yeah. But it's about cutting through that to go, okay, what is this actually saying to me? Yeah. And this is actually saying to me that I'm scared, that I'm fearful, and that I'm in a bit of pain, emotional pain, and I'm not sure what to do. And if you kind of go down and listen to that and be able to strip through some of this noise to know that this isn't going to take me anywhere, to be able to then link it to, validating that things can't be right at the moment, man. Things are meant to be out. If you're facing this, it's normal to be feeling like this. It's normal to be doing, scared. Yeah. It's normal to be like, how realistic is it that I'm not going to be here? But that's not going to take me anywhere. And what it does, it takes us away from what we want to do. So this whole fear is about not being here. Yeah. But the more we're fantasizing about death, and the more we're buying into these fears, the less we're present, because we can't be here loving those around us, loving yourself, feeling, being, if we're fantasizing and trapped into these fears about what can happen. And that script is never going to take me anywhere, because my mum at my funeral, that's just horrendous. Why would I ever want to give that any space? And it's just this spitting it out. And it's this vulnerability of not knowing how to go about it. And then this whole new world being put upon you, and you try to make sense of this in a vulnerable way.
Yeah.
And I think it's about, on reflection, it was about picking through that with some understanding, and then getting some tools in place to then be able to go, okay, how do I start working through some of this? And how do I start breaking down this whole world of cancer into micro goals? So how do I start getting some control back? And that's, when it started.
How long after was it that point where you started to feel that I'm going to beat this, I'm going to be positive about this?
Yeah, I would say that it's not black and white. So I wouldn't say there's a school of optimism and a school of fear. I would say that it's like the yin and the yang, right? So predominantly, I would say that I've had these key beliefs, these core values and these core beliefs about my existence. Yeah. But within that, there's these fears. And what you need to do is you need to predominantly be optimistic. Yeah. Be optimistic about your well-being and your capacity. And at the same time, recognize that within that optimism, and that's why I use optimism, not positivity, because within that optimism is always going to be this doubt and this fear. Yeah. And that's going to be triggered by different circumstances. And as I said before, pre-cancer, never going to think is anything cancer. Post-cancer, you feel something in your lungs. Yeah. You get a sore throat. There's these little things that are like, wow, is this my immune system? And that's when this wants to then mess with you again. Okay. So
See, I'm the type that I think everything's cancer.
Gotcha.
There's a leg pain. Oh, it must be cancer. So but you've always been the type of person that's positive, I guess, before you're diagnosed. Were you the type of person, how did you deal with stress or conflict? Was it something that you've always been pretty positive, or you had to learn how to be positive during your
I would say diagnosis? I would say I'm like an iPhone 5 back then, and now I've been updated to an X, so there's just different ways of, my programming has got better. Yeah. But to pause there, why do you think it is that you've been, you're got a heightened awareness or a heightened concern about cancer? What do you think that is?
I think I've always had anxiety since I was a child. So it's probably, are you someone that had suffered anxiety before you're diagnosed?
No.
Okay, no. So, I know how to deal with my anxiety. It's not so bad. I don't wake up thinking, oh, the world's I'm a pretty positive person. But I think if you're an anxious person, you think anything's going to, you're always prepared for the worst. But if you're
why do you think the spotlight was on cancer? Was that family history or
No, I don't know. Because I think cancer is probably the worst thing someone can get. I even think it's I know HIV is probably worse, but I just for me, that's even worse than someone telling me you've got HIV. I don't know why. It's just.
And maybe as well. Yeah. And the time, right? The context of where we're living. HIV. That was kind of more 90s in some ways. I don't want to make a generalization, but it seems that everywhere you go at the moment, someone has cancer or someone has cancer. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've lost some people that I young people. I went to drama school for 3 years, and in that class of 30 people, there's I think young people under 30, about 3 have died from cancer. So imagine your uni class.
Yes.
3 people have died from cancer out of 30.
Yeah. That's a lot of loss.
Yeah. I think. No, actually, no, I think 2, but then there's one that I worked with. So no, 2, and then another guy under 30 that I worked with in Mexico. So yeah, I think it's just seeing it around. But I'm a lot better now. I'm not as, I think 10 years ago I was a hypochondriac, but I've worked on myself so I don't think anything's cancer now compared to before. All right, so I'm going to ask you, was there something on your bucket list that you thought, I'm never going to do that? I'm just curious, what was on your bucket list? Something that you really wanted to do? I don't know, whether traveling, having children, what was it that you really wanted to do?
There's one thing that's going to define me as a person, and that was probably, this is the number one thing that I'm pulled towards, this goes back to like giving it some context. Like I think that if I'm ever going to not be present and I'm not going to be here, I want to be projecting and getting pulled towards this idea and this construct that I have in my mind, rather than be driven by fear.
Okay.
And that construct and what I go to, this place that immediately fills me with joy and love, is being a husband and being a father. And like that is, I see that as like the defining moment when I, can then, I don't know, there's just such weight for me that's placed upon being a dad and being a really good husband and being, having my family.
Yeah.
That is the one thing that just pulls me continuously. And that would be
So sorry, I was going to just ask you based on that question, that answer, like was being a father and a husband something that you have always wanted, or was it something that you realized you wanted because you had that death sentence? Because sometimes when you have that death sentence, we're like, oh, this is what I really want.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, like, I want this,
Yeah. I think if you ask my mum when I was young, I used to say that when I'm 21, I'm going to have 6 kids or something like that. Okay, now, I don't know. I don't know
that's
why.
Something that you've always, So I can imagine it would have been.
Yes. But then some reason, like I think from my studies when I was going through university in those early 20s, mid 20s, fatherhood became something which, I wanted, and I still really wanted. I really hold, such value that's going to be placed upon that. And as I said, I'd rather be pulled towards that than pushed towards something else. And that's the number one thing.
That's so beautiful. That's really nice. All right. So now talking about what are some of the changes that you made in order, let's talk about the recovery. So the mindset, what else did you do? What was some things that you changed? So you did chemo, you changed your mindset. What other things were you, just for anyone watching that could be having,
of course.
It could help them.
Yeah, so I did 2 years of chemotherapy, then I did 2 years of immunotherapy, so a total of 4 years.
What's
I guess immunotherapy. So it's kind of just like a new way of new oncology treatment. So it's a new form of medicine. It's getting some really, really, really good results around the world. So that was just a different form. It works on repairing the T cells, so it works on supporting your immune system to boost a recovery and to target, improving and rebuilding health rather than chemo, which can have a different approach to how it goes about getting a person towards recovery. Some of the key foundations that I had, and which I still have to this day, I think health for me is based on 4 key concepts. And I think this is applicable for anyone. And the best way to get a message out is to directly speak to people now, because if I could go back, I would have made the changes then rather than now. It's like the upgrade that I've had has been through pain. But I would see that there's 4 foundations to health, I think. And that is nutrition, movement, meditation, and sleep. Okay. I think they are the 4 pillars to health. And then I would dare say that something that, is going to get a compounding effect on all of that is love. And that's love for yourself and love for others, and being able to be loved rather than just, for a guy, that idea of love and listening to your heart and being attuned to what's going on. And that was very hard, particularly when you've got these challenges that you're facing and there's almost like a testing of people around you, and also like this way of not being able to show what you're going through and not kind of being true to yourself, and then being able to go that within love, and if you can be love, then there's no place for frustration. There's no place for anger. There's no place for sadness. So you've got to see it from, if my first principle and my guiding compass is going to be about that, well then how, again, am I going to live in accordance to that? So what is that going to then look like to me on a daily basis? And how can I be accountable? That every night when I hit my head on the pillow, that I can reflect back and be like, okay, and I'm not doing that all the time. Like where I am now, I still see that as so important. But there was some moments like when I was, when it was the worst, the hardest challenge, not the worst, but like the hardest challenge. This is when these key shifts really came in place. And I guess that I saw it that first time around, I went about making some fairly rapid changes in my life. And I saw myself as a failure. So I saw that as me taking responsibility that, when the cancer came back for the first time, I was like, I failed. And people around me would be like, don't say that. And I'd be like, no, that's me. No, this is me again. And only saying this to close people. It's me taking responsibility. Like, I didn't get it right. And then the second time around, I didn't get it right. I haven't got the approach right. Now, some people will be saying, this isn't going to be for everyone. And I don't work with people this way, but I have very high standards for myself and how I'm going to, it's all about, as I said before, me taking complete responsibility for my actions, starting very small and seeing that there is a capacity and believing in a capacity to put my body and my mind in the best possible position to respond to conventional medicine. So I see that. Sorry, you go.
No. I'm just, yeah. So I was just breathing.
Oh, yeah. So seeing what I saw in the past was that, without conventional medicine, I'm not here. That's straight up. But with only conventional medicine, would I be here? Now, I'm not sure. So I do a lot of things on a daily basis, which is part of my blueprint. Yeah. And my blueprint has had to upgrade and change and evolve according to where I am, in different stages of my life. But the whole idea is supporting my body and my mind to be in a position where I can heal. Because I had cancer, so something went wrong. So I need to be able, my body needs to be able to recover. And so I need to be able to listen to that. I need to learn from that. And I need to put it in the best possible position that's conducive for healing.
So how was your lifestyle before cancer? What were you?
I would say
food, sleep, meditation.
No, not much meditation. So I would say relatively healthy. So okay. I would say I exercised.
Yeah.
I tried to eat fairly well. Obviously, my concept of what's good food has changed. And then I think the key differences now is my importance I placed on rest and recovery. So how I can influence my parasympathetic nervous system to be able to rest, to be able to heal. And like you mentioned before, like how did I go about stress before? I worked on frontline child protection role over in the UK, one of the most complex roles and complex boroughs in the United Kingdom. Like there's many times that come to mind where we're dealing with some very horrific and stressful and traumatic experiences. And a way that I used to press release them was drinking. Like I used to drink a lot of alcohol and seen as culture. That was one of the biggest shifts.
That's the huge culture in the UK.
Yeah, and here, like I remember I went to the doctor and he said, do you drink? And I said, just socially, I don't drink Monday to Friday. And he said, how many beers do you have on a Friday or Saturday? I said, probably 8 to 10 pints. But a third doctor, I was like, I'm a binge drinker. And alcohol's been something that has been interesting for me to observe what's the right amount.
Yeah.
And I think I'm at the right place now, but I've tried nothing. So that was a big shift for me, is like from where I'm from, and my family, my mates, and who I am as a person. Like that, being able to get to a position where I'm, comfortable and happy with the amount of alcohol that I have and what place it has in my life has been something that only I get to through building myself.
So building, okay. So, and you were talking about conventional medicine. Can you just give me an example of something that worked for you?
Yeah, so I would say that the immunotherapy that I had, so it's a drug called Keytruda, that had a significant impact on my life. Like the results they're getting at the moment are great, are fantastic, amazing. And the criteria for me to get into my study was that you've exhausted all options and that you're going into palliative care. So that was my destiny, my supposed destiny. Just over 2 years ago. Now, I live in a very, very different life. I'm very fortunate and grateful for the opportunities that have come up for my health. And then I think some of the key influences that have been able to support this journey for how I can learn from others who have been doing well, and then see how that looks for my life. Yeah. I kind of just see it that you undertake. I see it. I went back to the UK because I was diagnosed in London. I went back to the UK last year for the first time. And I remember flying in from Essex I was coming over. This is the eastern point
Yeah.
of the UK, and it was all clouds. And the second time, I started listening to a little bit of Pink Floyd because I started using medicinal cannabis after my second reoccurrence. And interestingly, Pink Floyd came with that. But I was in the plane, and it was quite this emotional experience for me, and the clouds kind of parted. And I came back into London, and I saw some old friends, and, you know, it was like, wow, you know, you're looking okay, and, you know, how you been? You know, how do you make sense of, one of the questions was, how do you make sense of the past 2 years, like, you know, those years? And what I said, and I believe, was that I had chosen what I like to do. I loved working with people. I loved the challenges that was faced within my role back then.
Oh, really?
Basically what I did was dedicate 4 years of my life to doing my own PhD. So doing research on myself, learning from world leaders across different fields in psychology, health, wellness, nutrition, movement, and other people who are doing some amazing stuff supported by research, and saw that it was then my opportunity to kind of put that together. So I needed to up my level, because if I'm going to live this life where back to 4.5 years ago, that I have this belief that I'm going to be better than before, I can't use the same skills. I can't use the same knowledge. You know, I need to upgrade myself, and that's that reprogramming. You know, my coding needs to change for me to, you know, kind of be where I'm going to be. And like, if you ask me now, I need to go to here. Like, I'm sure it's the same for you, but mine was all focused on how can I get better? Like it's a vulnerability, and it's a desperation to live. And if that's the case, you do anything.
So let's talk about conventional medicine. And you've got the natural medicine, conventional medicine together.
Yes, that's what I believe.
What would you say to someone that comes to you and is like, you know, mate, I don't believe in chemo. I want Gerson therapy.
Yeah.
I'm all about Gerson. I'm going to do it that way. So what is your real thoughts about that? Not what you would say to them as a client, but your real thoughts.
Wow. I knew you were going to ask some good questions. My personal experiences would be mindful to not, you know, I do have some biases, and I put that on the table, and that comes from some of the experiences that I've seen. So I've worked with some people who have gone and tried, particularly as you mentioned, Gerson. I know other people have good results about it, and I think it is all something that is an individual choice. And again, I don't want to be the one to say, I'm sitting on the fence here, Rana, sorry, but I've seen people not go down the path of conventional medicine, and, you know, gone to Mexico or gone and tried these things, and their tumours have got a lot worse. But I also know from other experiences that, you know, people will recover. But my main anecdotal evidence from people that I've worked with and people that I've encountered hasn't been the best outcomes.
Okay, so from what you've experienced, you would recommend doing the chemo?
So I would say it's all about personal choice to start with. And I would say that the best way to move forward is by empowering people to take control of their own health. So I don't think you get anywhere without promoting your well-being and getting an understanding. So that is integrative medicine. So that's some of the four key pillars that I'm talking about before. That's then working on your thinking, so your psychology, about how you're seeing this, what your fit is with the environment around you, how you make sense of these losses, you know, what sort of purpose and opportunity do you have to pull you towards this place, use of other techniques to be able to support and construct this future, and then at the same time working to support your body to get into a position that enables it to heal. And at times, you know, that is crucial. I don't think it's one thing. I think it's, you know, there's a whole thing. My expertise is, I think there's areas of my expertise that I know about, and then there's areas that I don't. Now, how to actually treat cancer, you know, I leave that at times for a doctor and oncologist. I see my role to support them. Yeah. And that's where, you know, this whole idea about this, I'm about empowering. I'm about understanding, supporting, and empowering patients, you know, to live better, longer. That's my idea. So that's my why of what's driving me. And that's how I think people are best supported. And it's through those, a number of different changes, but it's about integrating alternative and integrative medicine plus working on your mental health.
All right. So I'm going to ask you, I think maybe if 2 or 3 more questions. The last one is, the one of the last ones is, you see somebody, and I'm going to ask you about the blueprint very soon as well, but there's somebody, they come to you, they're like, hey, I've got cancer. What are you going to tell them to do the first few days? Like, what's your advice? What is the step-by-step? This whole week, I want you to take us through the steps.
I'm just going to listen. I'm not going to tell them to do anything.
Okay, so you won't.
I'm going to listen. I'm going to see where they're at.
Yeah.
And from that, I do my assessment about what I think is required and the way in. Because,
okay, so you assess them first.
So my model starts in a reparative place. So before I get to any actions, the reparative place is the loss, the changes that occur. And we can't identify purpose and opportunity until we understand what this actually means for someone. But again, it's very hard to get into that without having the relationship and the rapport. So I like to ask a very, very difficult question straight up. Yeah. And I like to get straight to it in a way. Okay. To let them know that I know where they are and I know where they can be. And I want them to immediately go, this is different. This isn't the doctor. This isn't my friend. This isn't someone who's just talking to me. I want them to go, he gets this. Yeah. And I think I can leverage off my skills and I can leverage off my story to be able to have that impact. And that's what I want to do early on. Because I see the best work that I can do. I talk about the magic happening in about session 4, session 5. And that enables us to develop our relationship. They get a bit of an understanding. They may have seen some gentle, small shifts in how they feel, how they're processing, some of the differences in their relationship, some of the differences in how they're going about living. And then I really then start to push on a momentum. That's how I would say it. So yeah, I'm all about listening and starting where the person's at.
So so I wanted to ask as well, okay, we understand cancer, you can survive it, the mindset, but there are people that are going to die from cancer, right?
Yeah.
So is there a way that you can help them accept their death? Like, do some people ever go, you know what, I accept this and I'm fine? Of course, they're going to be devastated, but is there a stage where they can be helped through counseling to...
So I'll tell you an example. I got called by someone who just walked out of the doctors. He got 100 to 1.
What is that?
100 to 1, 101 chance to live. And he was telling me, this is the first conversation that I had with him. He was on the phone. I've just come out of here and I heard about you, got introduced to you, but I haven't been there. I've just got there. I got 101. I need to get my affairs in order. I paused him and I said, are you the one? Now that sounds a little bit motivational. Yeah, and that sounds a little bit, okay, how do you ask that? But my question, when you peel it back, do you believe that you can live?
Yeah.
And all that is a challenge to his belief. Because if he walks away from there thinking that he's going to die, I believe he is going to die. And I've seen that happen to some people that I work with. Yeah. But from just asking that moment to pause, that doesn't mean we then go down a path where we just say, yeah, you can live. Then this goes, so there's 2 ways that we can see this. And what we need to focus on is what you've got. And what you've got, you're still here, yeah? You're here now. And we've got data, heart rate, breath, touch, to indicate that we're here. So what do we want to do when we're here? We want to maximize time. Yeah. We want to maximize what we're here to do. So all of it is about improving quality of life. So I support people to be able to see where they're at, look at their priorities, live in accordance to some of these core beliefs and core foundations that I think are important for them, layer on some integrative techniques, and then support the person for where they need to go. And where I think I need to ask super challenging questions, and where we need to explore death, and where we need to explore loss, we do, and we go there.
Okay, so unless they're on their deathbed, you don't want them you want them to still have that belief, because that belief is what's going to keep them going. Because this could help so many people watching.
Well, I think so, but then there's also the aspect of exploring and talking about this concept of quality of death. Yeah. And what is quality of death? It's not at the point you die, but what is this whole section of end of life like? Yeah. And it's something that really interests me, and I'm not sure how well it's done. because I still think it's taboo. But some of my best work as well is when I go into someone whose life isn't looking great and isn't indicating that there's much hope or much time. And it's maximizing that. You know, how do you make last, you know, how do we look at the idea of legacy? Yeah. How do we look at the idea of getting closure?
Yeah.
You know? But really, really honing in on let's get us right. So when we get us right, we're able to go there.
Yeah.
And also just being that vehicle to be able to let the emotions pour out, to be able to give that permission and that reassurance that this is okay to cry. You know, how do we now go about setting up? Is it letters you're going to write? Is it going to be videos? But how do we also maintain that you're going to be here? You know, so there's, there's two different ways, and I'm guided by the individual. But most people who come to me would be wanting to go, I want to live.
Yeah.
So my focus is to be mindful about the possibility of this, but they're also going to be having their doctors and other people have different conversations about get this in order and poor you. Yeah. You know, poor you here, you're so young, why are you on the ward?
Yeah.
Whereas me, I'm a platform to go, where do you want to go? There is chances. You know, what we've got to do is look at A, B, C, and D, and we get this in place, and then we don't know where you can go.
Yeah.
But yeah, completely like this, a humanistic model where I'm completely led and start where the person is at, but then intervene. And that's when it kind of transfers to this idea that I come on the journey. So in my past work, it was like a barrier, right? So I'm here, you come to me, there's a power dynamic that occurs. Now it's like, we're in this together. And how do we move forward?
Okay.
And that involves me bringing in parts of my story to it, where appropriate as well. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to ask you. So let's talk about I'm just looking at the time. Let's look at about your the cancer blueprint. So what was the inspiration for that? And if you can just take us through the program, what it is, how it's going to help, and how it's going to change people's lives.
Yeah, for sure. And everything that I will talk about is the cancer blueprint. It governs discussions like this. It governs how my planning is unfolding, and it governs my interactions is this belief in better.
Yeah.
So everything that I'm doing at my core is that I think things can be better, and I believe things can be better, and I believe things need to be better. And that's what I'm focusing on. And that's why I wake up every day and do everything that I'm doing to be able to push this forward. So it all starts with the belief in better. From that, I'm looking at, as I said before, understanding, supporting, and empowering. Not only patients, but carers and survivors, to be able to live better, longer. So I'm already looking at, you know, that it's only changed the other day, and you may see it on Facebook, this guy gave you this advice. And it's about improving quality of life and focusing on getting better. And if you get better, well, then maybe you're living longer as well. And there's some very good research that's coming out to indicate when you're bringing in some of these integrated strategies and when you're able to work through some of these points, that there's a greater probability that you may be able to extend life as well. You may be able to extend time. And that's this mission that I'm on. Now, how does that look? It's a cancer. There's two different products that I have. I don't talk about this too much on any of my socials, but I have a product that I go in and I take to people's homes, or I have video conference. And people see me for 5 sessions. So they see me for 5 sessions, and everyone I work with goes through my model. So there's a model that I think everyone with cancer goes through. And there's 3 touch points. So I get involved either at the point of diagnosis, in the middle of treatment, or at the transition from treatment to life beyond cancer. And then people work through this model where we layer on different components. And I've given a bit of an indication of what it's about so far. And I go in and I support the person to then be able to live better, longer. So that's the idea. I collect data, and my data is indicating that I'm able to have a good impact on reducing the impact of cancer, able to improve quality of life, able to improve the coping of a person, able to improve their support, and able to reduce their anxiety. So there's key measures that I've kind of been interested in. And now my focus is on getting this into a scalable version where then I'm able to have a greater access and eliminate, and break down language barriers, break down geographical boundaries, and break down socioeconomic barriers as well by delivering a consistent, and
Yeah.
quality and proven platform and a tool that is going to support people to live better longer. And it's in this quarter, it's about believing better.
Okay, so it helps them with everything from their diet to their mindset to the meditation to the sleep to the you giving them that support as well.
Yeah, so I would be saying that there's 150 people that have used this, 50 people that I've worked with in person.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got some platform to say that there's a proven way that I can work with people. Yeah. And that is, I'm promoting people's mental health. Yeah. I'm promoting people's quality of life. I'm using integrative medicine. So I'm using integrative personalized planning to look at some of these 4 areas. So looking at how people move, eat, think, and rest. And then wrapping that all up with an improved capacity to be able to express their needs to their doctors and their care staff, and be able to better and be empowered by technology to be able to live better, longer.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I'm...
Yeah, it sounds like an amazing program that anyone that's got cancer or someone that has family with cancer would need. Because, I mean, I'm not knocking doctors, but sometimes they're not the best people to deal with when you are going through cancer. I mean, I'm sure there's great doctors, but yeah, it's not their job to...
Well, I see it as a completely different role.
Yeah.
An oncologist once said to me, she said, what's the difference between what you and I do? And I, without thinking, I said time, skill, and focus. And so when I broke that down, her focus is on the cancer. My focus is the person. Time, you get 15, maybe half an hour with a person. I go in and I give someone 2 hours and I'm in their environment. Skill, their skill is working out a way and using conventional medicine to be able to go, how can we kill and how can we eradicate or cure? Yeah. My skill is supporting, equipping and empowering the person to be able to take control of their life and place them in the best position to be able to overcome their circumstances at the moment. Yeah. So I see it as very much complementary. Okay. Like moving forward, that's how I think is the best tool. So my vision is for when people are at these 3 touch points, are then able to have both, to have data. It's a proven platform which is going to be able to support them to live better longer. And I know I keep on saying that, but that's how I think. And so it just keeps on coming out.
No, it sounds great. So let me ask you, if you could go back in time, is there anything that you would change about what happened, your circumstances?
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's a very, very good question.
Because I mean, you met your fiance because of cancer. You've got the blueprint because of cancer. So what would you change, or is there anything that you would change?
I just know how much pain it's caused for my family and some of my friends. So I couldn't be the person here to say, it's a very good question. I know that it's not possible, but I would go about making changes to my life, of course, with avoiding it. And I would be the man that I am today without pain, and I would be bold enough to be able to tell my younger self that you are capable of making these changes, to strip back your vulnerability, to be yourself, to allow this idea of love into your life, and to be the person that you can be. Because that's the message that I would give to my younger self. And I think that's would be the key message. And go about living in accordance to who you are at your core without causing this pain to others.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's great. And okay. And my last question is, just generally speaking, you don't know these people, they've got cancer. What are the top 3 tips that you will give them to focus on?
Great one. I would say it's okay to feel down. It's okay for your world to seem that it's turned upside down.
Yeah.
I would say recruit some people around you. That would be professionals. That would be people, either friends or family, to be able to come on this journey with you, and that you choose to come on this journey with you. And then I would say you've got to double down. You've got to double down on ways that we know, with evidence, we know that can improve your outcomes. And that is by, you've just got to go all in. You've got to go all in on seeing these 4 pillars and how you go about that as ways to be able to support your well-being, and they've got to be seen as treatment. You know, meditation's treatment, movement's treatment, nutrition's treatment, rest is treatment, medicinal cannabis is treatment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, use of other ways that you can tap into your parasympathetic nervous system.
Okay.
It's treatment. Everything needs to be seen equal weight. And that's like my message.
Okay. That's really good advice. I mean, there's people I know that have cancer and they're just doing chemo, but their diet is really bad and they're drinking and they're like eating the worst food. There are some people that are probably doing all the natural stuff, but they're not utilizing the medicine. So I get your 4 pillars, and the 5th one, which is the cannabis, I think sound great. And so many people might not have this knowledge.
And I would just say, that the changing point is love.
Yeah.
It's got to be allowed to come in, and the capacity to heal and the capacity to give life, I think, can't be underestimated by love. And that is about yourself first, and then others around. And that would be like the number one message. Make love, not find. Make love.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. So I know that you couldn't get the room, so there's a bit of noise for anyone that's watching. Apologies about that. Yeah. And yeah, so I'm going to leave in the comments, in the link, I'm going to leave, check out the cancer blueprint. So it's, what is it? www.thecancer.
So it's under CW Counselling. So it's cwcounselling.com.au, and then there's a section in the cancer blueprint.
I mean, I'm going to put that, and I'm going to put your other links. So check out Chad, connect with him, follow him, reach out to him if you have any questions or so anything that you took away from this, leave it in the comments. And thanks a lot, Chad. And